Welcome to the inner arena. This isn't about motivation. This is about leadership conditioning. And we're here to get our reps in on swag, self awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. So hit the subscribe button below and let's get to work. Today, I'm going to talk about the number one unseen enemy that fuels burnout. And that's that ass inner critic. The gremlin, whatever you want to call it, negative self-talk, whatever. It's the inner critic, that punk ass inner critic who's always riding shotgun in our head. And man, I'm gonna teach you on this right now because none of us is immune to the inner critic, right? And it shows up in so many different forms. And I talked about in the previous videos of this series, I talked about the limiting beliefs. I talked about the interpretations. I talked about the assumptions, right? Now throw a voice into it, right? That voice makes it appear as a voice of reason. And that's that punk ass inner critic of what I'm talking about. It's true. It's real talk, right? The inner critic really tries to make us play small in these moments, in key decisions, particularly as high achievers. We've gotten to where we've become through our tenacity, through our energy, through our perseverance, through our efforts, through our work ethic, all of that. But then at some point, that inner critic shows up to try to talk us down, to play safe, right? And it sounds so true. It sounds so real. This inner voice in our head that's masked to sound like your voice, to believe it, to believe it. And it hey, really makes us play small in that moment. And what I'm here to continue to do is put that record straight, right? Because think about it. The inner critic creates this inner conflict of what we're going through in that dilemma. And with that inner conflict, it's draining, right? Particularly as a high achiever. As a high achiever, right? You when you second guess yourself, should I or shouldn't I? And you're hesitant in moments to make a decision, and the inner critic voice is loud in your head, and it sounds like you telling yourself that you need to play it safe in this moment, and you're doubtful of that. Man, man, it becomes an inner battle, and that's draining. That's burnout. Part of the burnout that you feel is the internal battle within self. That's it. And you're a high achiever, right? The inner critic often is telling you that you can't slow down because if you slow down, you'll be viewed as weak. You will lose. They'll catch up to you. You'll be perceived differently, right? So you got to keep going, 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 going. And you don't slow down. And guess what that does? Burnout, right? Because you're listening to the inner critic. And then the inner critic will tell you, like I said, you can't afford to slow down. But true, powerful visionaries understand that you need to reset and it's okay to slow down. But this inner critic, it's like he's rattling your mind that it's like he's frantic and it's like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You got to slow down. You can't slow down. You got to keep going because if you slow down, they're going to think this. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. All judgment based. All judgment based. All around fear. Because what the inner critic is also doing is co-signing assumptions, trying to project out what the outcome is going to be before it actually happens. That's what the punk ass inner critic does. And we believe it. Why wouldn't we? Right? Because we've had past experiences. So Why do we think that that's going to change? So we become hesitant, even as a high achiever, right? We failed in the past. We've had this bad experience. It's going to happen again. And the other thing is the inner critic is so loud that it outshines your intuition. Your intuition is like your inner coach. It's the voice of reason. It's the calm. It's the ability to see the unseen before it happens, right? But the inner critic is so loud that you're distracted away from that, and that you're listening to the inner critic, and everything is logic based, right? Because you're relying on the picture of the past, right? Because you go through situations, and because you've been there and done that, it formulates a picture in your head. It does naturally. And that's the evidence that the inner critic is manipulating you on. It's crazy, man. That's why he a punk ass. It's crazy, right? And it manipulates you on your mind of this flawed image. Yeah, you've been through that, but that doesn't mean you're going to get the same outcome. But it's hard, man. And I'm not even pretending that this stuff is easy. I'm just putting you on game. But it's hard to see the unseen before it actually happens. And then you have the inner critic that's so loud, and it sounds like you, that you're in the spot where you just believe it. You believe it, right? But then you're in this cycle. You're in this cycle, this rough cycle. And that's where the loop that you're in, you become stagnant. And it happens to all of us, high achievers and all, everybody. But the people that understand the breakthrough, they utilize swag, self-awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. Trust me on this. The more you understand this framework, man, the better you just naturally feel. You do. You do. Because the moment of hesitation, of doubt, and that inner critic is just chirping. He's chirping in your head. Man, it takes major self-awareness to be able to differentiate that, to step back and say, nah, man, I'm good. I hear you, but I'm going to continue to move forward. See, that's self awareness. When you can do that, man, that's power. And then the why purpose, the why power, always in connection with your core values in that moment, whatever the situation is, right? And that starts to shut down the inner critic as well. And then the aligned action, you know, having the presence to take steps toward quieting the inner critic in that moment. And whatever that aligned action is, it can be anything. Man, let me get outside and take a walk to get some fresh air to just calm these thoughts down a little bit. Man, that's an aligned action. You do that. Or, let me get my exercise in and just shift my mind for a second. Whatever. That's an aligned action. And then grit, just trust in yourself. Trust yourself. You got this. You got this. And being determined to see it through and not quitting, shutting that punk ass inner critic down. That's grit, right? And then if you consistently do that, that's swag. That's swag. That's the rep. That's the leadership conditioning, the rep that I'm talking about. And that's what I teach in the inner arena. Not just what I shared with you here. This is just a small little snippet of the amount of resources and training and everything that I do. And it's a locker room, no. Leaders don't have a locker room. They don't. Athletes, high performers have a locker room. What about leaders? So that's what I created, a locker room, so that we can address this number one unseen enemy that creates burnout. And what you need to do first is grab my cheat sheet, the SWAG framework cheat sheet. Grab that. It's in the link below. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to do that. Man. And then come in, come check out the inner arena. The link's below as well. Check me out. And that's what it is. And I'll catch you on the next round. But remember, swag, baby. Swag. Self-awareness, why power, aligned action, and grit. And I'll catch you on the next round.